Alright. It's not a YouTube video. I get it, man. Alright, no more links, by the way. No more links, by the way. Chat only says, hey, Forsen, here to help contribute for the 24-hour reaction stream Pog.
There once was a man by the name of Austin Wiggin Jr. When he was a young boy, his mother, who enjoyed reading people's palms, made a prediction for Austin's life. He would marry a strawberry blonde woman, they would have 2 sons that would be born after her death, and they would also have daughters that would go on to form a popular music group. Austin grows up, it's now the mid-1960s, in a small town called Fremont, New Hampshire. He marries a strawberry blonde woman, his mom dies, he and his wife...
Dude, she looks like scuffed Reese Witherspoon.
Have 2 sons, and then they have several daughters as well. Being that the first 2 pieces of that prophecy came true, Austin decided that it was fate, and the best course of action would be to pull his daughters from school and start the band right away. In 1967, he bought them some cheap instruments, gave them roles in the band, which he called the Shags, and gave them a strict schedule of homeschooling in the morning, practicing their instruments all day, and then they did calisthenics before bed. Just so we're on the same page, these girls were not musicians. The dad just gave them instruments and said, figure it out, you're gonna be rock stars. They didn't have any social lives, they were pulled out of school because of some prophecy, and now apparently they're gonna be in a band. That's sad and messed up, but it gets worse. In 1968, the Shags played their first gig, a talent show in a nearby town. Pretty soon into their performance, the crowd was heckling them and throwing soda cans at them. Even though the kids were mortified, the dad said that they had to keep going. They started playing these weekly dances at a local town hall, and all the local kids would come either to dance or to heckle them and throw trash at them. So what does the dad do next? He thinks it's time for them to record an album. He buys studio time in Revere, Massachusetts in 1969, and when the studio engineer first heard them play, he said they weren't ready for studio recording, to which the father replied that he wanted to get them while they were hot. With Dot on lead guitar and vocals, Betty on rhythm guitar and vocals, and Helen on drums, this is what they came up with. Here's their track My Pal Foot Foot, an ode to Dot's missing and twice amputated cat, off of their album Philosophy of the World.
These sound like fucking Phoebe songs from Friends, right?
My pal's name is Foot Foot Foot, he always likes to grow.
It also sounds like the actual songs.
Other tracks include It's Halloween,
It's Halloween, it's Halloween, it's time for scares, it's time for screams.
This is like the Rebecca Blacks of their time, dude.
and That Little Sports Car.
Wow, I was almost up on a goner.
1,000 copies
Wait,
of this album
they
were
have
made,
no
but
idea
only
what they're
100
doing.
survived for reasons that are unknown. Most people think that 900 of the albums were just thrown away by the studio, but here's the twist in the story. While this is the only album they've ever made, the Shags went on to become cult rock and roll heroes. After the death of their father, the Shags disbanded, they all gave up on music, married, had kids, and started new lives. Meanwhile, rare copies of Philosophy of the World were discovered, and they started getting passed around by music collectors. In the mid-1970s, a Boston radio station called WBCN-FM started playing the Shags, and people started paying attention to this strange but fascinating band. Word kept spreading around, and while the band had stopped playing, they gained this cult following. Frank Zappa said that the Shags were one of his favorite bands of all time and that they're better than the Beatles. Kurt Cobain listed Philosophy of the World as his 5th favorite album of all time. And while all of the story is really
kind of does sound
I
like
think the reception of the
Nirvana,
album is the
not
most
gonna lie.
interesting part. One could obviously listen to the snippets that I played for you, and you would never want to hear those songs again. That makes perfect sense. Their voices are hard to listen to, the guitars sound cheap and incredibly off-key, and the drums have no consistency at all. But I also think the people that love the Shags have every reason to. It's the weirdest music I've ever heard, but I've never heard anything like it before. There's something appealing about how incredibly amateur it is. How often can you listen to a song and say, I've never heard that combination of sounds before? And when you start to read the lyrics, it's a legitimately interesting perspective. How often can you hear songs entirely written by kids with no prior musical experience? Whether you love or hate their music, the Shags went on to have a little bit of fame. Dot is still playing to this day, her new band opened up for Neutral Milk Hotel in 2015, and good for her. So here's to the Shags, who ended up finding success after a truly terrible situation, and go listen to Philosophy of the World, the worst slash best
I would, but I'm
album
guessing
I've
it's
ever heard.
DMCA as fuck. That's funny. It's like art. Can't tell if it's a Picasso or if it's drawn by a 4-year-old. But I guess it's good.